Hello, y'all. Happy Saturday. Welcome back to my petty venting session. So today I want to talk about the importance of being a gentleman and how rare it is these days. And I don't know, it might be rare throughout history, probably more rare than it should be, but I don't know. I think decades ago it was more common to be a gentleman. I feel like men aren't expected to grow up emotionally in maturity these days as much, whereas previous days it's like by the time you were 20 you'd be married, you'd have kids, you had your own farm, whatever, your own home, which is kind of harder to do these days, and there's benefits to the fact that we're not all pressured to do that. But anyway, and let me preface this also by saying, I have my thoughts on the way modern women conduct themselves too, but I'm not as comfortable going into that being a man myself, and I don't really want to have that negativity that comes with it. So, and I'm a man, so I can relate to men, and I'm going to talk about the importance of being a gentleman today. So, what is a gentleman? Okay, in my mind, a gentleman's respectful. He's polite, not in a fake way, in a genuine way. And he genuinely wants to be helpful, and he keeps his ego in check, and that's something that's very rare these days. One thing you'll see these days in a lot of places is dudes just flexing, trying to look tough, mad dogging, and that might just be a thing since the beginning of time because of testosterone, but I think that's lacking in gentlemanly behavior. But let me talk about what I think the biggest factors would be for gentleman behavior, and I think it often will have to do with how they conduct themselves with women. Now, I think a gentleman, he's gonna hold doors open for women. And even, it seems like we have an epidemic now where women want the doors held open for them, and they're like, where are the gentlemen? And I'm glad we're at that. But ladies need to realize too that they killed that, not all women, a lot of them never subscribed to that, but they killed that with the whole, I'm a strong, independent woman. It's patronizing to have the door held open, which is crazy. I mean, we don't hold the door open for you because we think you're weak. It's because of the treasure you are, How is that not seen as love? That's just insane. But anyway, I think a real gentleman will hold the door open no matter what society is telling him. No matter what other women are saying that it's oppressive or whatever, even during that era, I was still holding doors open for women. And I'll hold doors open for everybody. I think it's the polite thing to do. But I'll especially go out of my way a little more for a woman, just because chivalry, man. And I was doing that despite the backlash, because I think a masculine thing to do is you live up to your truth and what you feel is love, no matter what society's telling you. You got to come from that masculine core of what you think the loving thing is to do, and you stand for that, because real men stand up to, corruption, to BS. We don't have it, right? And I think the same transfers to so many men are afraid to approach women that they're interested in. And, I think they'll cop out because they say, oh, it's dangerous. And I get that too. And ladies, I hope you think about that too, is like, man, I don't know what kind of world we live in, and women really helped contribute to it. Like I said, not all women, a lot of women didn't subscribe to this, but over pushing the whole thing with the grape culture and all this stuff, and false accusations to the point that men are afraid to approach. Men literally have like fear of incarceration when it comes to relationships on such a deep level. It's really sad. But anyway, I think a man will not cop out, because unless like every man is getting put in handcuffs for just asking a woman out, which is not happening, then he needs to nut up and just approach, because that's what a real man does, in my opinion. And approach respectfully, and being conscientious about, women's natural feeling of lack of safety, because that's a real thing. Women as the weaker sex, they're gonna feel more vulnerable, and men with testosterone and a more of a capacity for grape and violence, women are gonna feel more afraid, and that's only natural, right? But you don't let women's fear of safety get taken too far, where it's like, I don't know, most women are not going to be feeling like they're in danger from you, like deep danger from you just asking them out, especially if you do it in a normal way. So just do it. I mean, and women, they like to feel a man's confidence, and if he shirks at every little feeling they have of vulnerability, that's going to be a turn off to them, because they want a man who can break through those. I mean, women's emotions are a little more all over the place. Their sense of safety is more touchy, so they're just going to be a little more temperamental with things, a little more touchy with things. But if you never approached any time a woman feels a little touchy or on edge, that's her natural way. So if you approach respectfully and safely, you gotta do it. You can't. That's what attracts women about the masculine. It's take charge respectfully and safely, but take charge. Put yourself out there, man. The worst that you can happen is you get rejected, but honestly, women will feel flattered for being approached. And much less men are doing it because they're so afraid, and they've copped out because they say, oh, well, it's dangerous to do it. It's not as dangerous as you're saying it is, so that's a cop out, I think. I don't know how much that ties into being a gentleman, but I think a real masculine gentleman, he's going to approach regardless. But what does touch into being a gentleman is, if you get rejected, take it with grace and don't retaliate or say something rude. Be kind, say, oh, it was worth a shot. It was worth a shot, and smile, be cool about it. Like, as a man, you just have to accept that you're going to get rejected more. That's just how things go. If you look in nature, I think it's in nature, it's about 80% of the females reproduce and 40% of the men do. And that sucks. That's unfair, but nature isn't always fair. And we have to deal with that as men, that we're going to get rejected more. And women feel more unsafe than we do, so they're going to reject us more. You just have to deal with that as a man. And I empathize. I'm a man, and it's hurt me deeply, but when I've had to come to a place of confidence that that's just what happens, and that's a man's cross to carry, and it's his responsibility to handle the rejection with grace and not mutter some crap under his breath, not say, oh, you're a mid or something. I don't know if that happens in real life, but I've seen dudes trying to humble women, that they might say something distasteful, but then they come back like you're too mid to like be saying something like that, like you're too much of a 5 to be acting that. And you know, can we stop like rating ourselves in numbers? We're human beings, man. We're more than just that, and just rating people on their looks, that's bad karma, it's bad character. Just stop doing it. So I think at risk of not making this too long, I want to try to sum up that I think a gentleman goes out of his way to protect women. And if you think that's offensive as a woman, that, oh, you know, a man protecting me, then I think you need to get a grip. Like, a real gentleman is going to want to protect women. I mean, and that's his instinct. He's going to handle rejection gracefully. He's going to be a kind person, and he's going to be a good individual with good character. And I think I think that's about all I got for today, guys, and I appreciate you listening. See you in the next one.